Hi folks, I apologise about the lighting behind me. There's not much I can do about it, and I don't want to reverse and be in the sun because it's just too hot. So I think it's about just after 11 o'clock here. I was about to say Johannesburg, Durban, South Africa. I think it's Tuesday. Yeah. I'm not even sure the date. Something 14th, 12th, 11th of May. And just trying to catch my breath. Just trying to do a bit of meditation, I suppose, before I go and hit the grocery store and the hardware store and wear my mask. Here it is. So it's so important to catch our breaths, to just sort of take stock, just to sort of go within, just close their eyes and just watch the breath and just sit and feel what comes up and see what the mind is thinking, the thoughts that are arising, the feelings that are happening. And then just taking stock, taking, sort of measurements, or I don't know, on where you are at now in your life, on what's going on in the world, what potential future is to play out, or, etc. Just how you're doing, how's your journey been? How's your journey been? And it's okay to say your journey's been tough. In fact, if you didn't say it was tough, then you're probably in a small minority, okay? And again, it's not just about having the right perspective or right attitude, that's something else, but it's just about feeling like, that it's been tough. And not just now, I'm saying not only now, but it's been tough from the get-go. That doesn't mean that it's been terrible, doesn't mean that it's been, sometimes it has been terrible. It's both. It's, you got the sweet and you got the sour. But over and above, right, it's been tough, and it's been a challenge. And it's been a challenge to stay true and to stay alive and to stay connected and to stay hopeful and to stay in awe and and multidimensional and multifaceted and and to stay alive, to keep your spirit alive. That's what it's really been about. And so I'm sitting here and I'm seeing how I'm feeling a little bit overwhelmed, I must say, because of the lockdown and not having much to do around my place. I'm on the internet a lot and a lot of screen time, and I'm finding it to be rather addictive. It's very stimulating, and I mean it's great as well to be able to research and see what's going on in the times, and so much happening. But at the same time, it's like I'm losing a little bit of inward focus, I would say, or just inward feeling, and just taking stock again. It's like, okay, take a breather, take some space and just see where you're at, and just again, from the higher perspective of your journey. Anyway, so I'm sitting here in my car and I'm thinking about, I just think about what it's been about, and I think about I just go back a few years and I think about, how lonely it's been a lot of the time, how I felt on my own mission. I've been on my own mission, without in many others for a long time. I feel like I've been, fighting against the system, or just having such resistance against the system. Like, I was just thinking, when I used to live in Johannesburg with my girlfriend at the time, we stayed in a 2-bedroom apartment, with her sister. It was in the heart of Johannesburg in Sandton, a busy city, metropolitan area. Neighbors above me, below me, to the side of me, and I know some of you are in that situation, in those circumstances, so it's not so easy, and I feel for you. Some of you are okay with it, some of you love it, and that's fine. But for myself, it didn't agree with me, and my relationship was very unhealthy. The certain environment was very unhealthy. I felt very, very trapped. Couldn't hold down a job, couldn't make ends meet, wasn't relying on my girlfriend. I mean, she didn't even have much money coming in. Her father sort of supported her. Pretty late 20s at this stage, or mid 20s, yeah. And it was hard. It was really, really tough. And went on for a long time. And that's, and just feeling the city, feeling the, the matrix, feeling the matrix, and having to live in the matrix, and and journey inwardly at the same time, and and see the matrix for what it is, but coexist with the matrix has been very tough. It's been very, very tough. But of course it will be tough. It's been very much a daily activity to keep your sanity a lot of the time. Not maybe your sanity, just your authenticity, just just your soul. I think it's just your soul. I mean, it's whatever, just your soul. Because it's been a fight, there's no question about it, and it doesn't seem like the odds have been in your favor a lot of the time. I mean, to some degree, yes. There we go. Maybe the license was there. To some degree, yes. I mean, I know there's been divine timing in my life. It's not a write-off. I haven't not seen the hand of the guiding angels or forces or synchronicities in my life. I haven't felt alone sometimes. Sometimes I have in that way, and I've seen it and how it's worked, but at the same time, it's predominantly been about the struggle with the matrix, right, with the Truman Show. So there's so it's and it's just been tiring, as you folks know, and it's been like, I mean, you can get into all the details of having to have your favorite park torn down so they can build a shopping mall or something like that, or I don't know, just how they've taken that which is natural, which is innocent, and they've destroyed it, right? And they've polluted it, and they've polluted the minds of the people that you love. They've polluted the airwaves, the air that we breathe. They've polluted with radiation and whatever it is. They've polluted the skies. They've polluted the oceans. And yes, we've all had our part to play in it, and that's what makes it so hard. It's because, yes, I'm not the best at recycling. Yes, I do buy plastic products. I can't help it. I mean, for crying out loud, what can I do? I mean, I try to reuse grocery bags, which I'm doing here, type of thing. But I mean, I'm burning fossil fuels. I'm burning in my car. That's just the way the system was set up. There were probably very good people that had cars that worked with, mosquito bastard. Okay, now that's it. I've lost it. So, people that you can hear me, that have developed, for example, these are all just examples. The electric car, and not even using electricity. Let's just say solar or something like that. And well, they were bought out, or they were sort of off with their heads, or people that built alternative ways of living, sustainability. They've herbal medications, whatever it might be. But it's all been crushed, right? It's all been sold out or destroyed. Okay, and I'm just seeing this mosquito, and it's a big one. So, it's terrible. It's haunting. Mosquitoes. Okay, I think it's going out. Okay, good. Can't stand it. And so, all efforts to become more holistic in our being has been a lot of the time just snuffed out by, the matrix. And so we have to drive cars. We have to catch airplanes. We have to buy plastics to a large degree. We have to build our houses that in an unholistic way. We do. Right? We've got to throw away our old devices somewhere in the trash, e-waste or something like that. That's been the way that's the world designed. And so for ourselves, we don't like it. I don't like it, but what can I do, I got to eat GMO foods, I mean, I try and grow my own, but I'm nowhere near supplying for myself. And even the seeds that I plant are GMO. I mean, it's very hard to grow non-GMO seedlings, and in my experience, it's been very hard, And so it's been compromised. So that's been compromised, and I wanted to do another talk actually about freedoms, which I don't want to get too confused with right now in what I'm saying. So what am I saying? So, have to eat GMOs, have to have fluoride in the water, whatever it is, and etc. Okay, this is going into another talk about having our freedoms taken away. which I need another to do focus on a completely. That's another talk to be on its own. Anyway, so we've had to coexist with it, and having to, again, like I moved to the country and I wanted to set up a self-sustainable farm, and I just didn't have the people to do it with. In fact, they were more narcissistic than I expected, and they sabotaged my efforts and my finances that I put into it and whatever it was. And just, there's just no ways you can do it and on your own. And if you find the people, it's very unusual. Now there are villages and there are farms that are still self-sustaining, and look at the Amish, they manage on their own to a certain degree, but it's just for the person who's living in the city, been born and raised in the city, to move to the farm and to think that you're going to be able to know how to live self-sustaining on your own, or even just with a few people that are born in the city, or slim to none chance. And so not only that, but I think, if they put up these G5 satellites and whatever it is into the whatever around the world, and they start beaming this shit at us, which they're capable of doing anything, then everybody, no matter where you are on your sustainable farm, you're being affected. It's a ghastly thing to think about if that's a possibility, But again, as human beings, maybe we've brought this upon ourselves in certain ways or another, which is another talk again to get into in regards to freedom. Anyway, so I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, well, you had to earn a salary, you had to pay your taxes, you've had to pay your rent, you've had to pay your way to get by, and you've had to rely on the system, you've had to rely on the matrix, and you've had to grin and bear it, and you've had to be in relationships with people that are very much in the matrix, very much asleep in the matrix, very much support the matrix. The only thing they know is the matrix. And so for yourself, you felt lonely, you felt desperate at times, you felt hopeless at times, despaired at times, disconnected at times, and just wanting to give up. Of course you're going to feel it throughout this journey of life. At times you just feel like giving up. But in a sense, what is giving up, right? Just turn to apathy, or let depression overtake you, or I don't know, or something or other, just not carrying on fighting. I don't know what that necessarily looks like for myself personally. So far so good for me that I felt I haven't given up. Okay, but at times, I've said enough's enough, but what can I do about it? What can you do about it? I briefly read a comment on somebody who, on my last video, on my second last video, I uploaded one last night, and I was uploading and I was reading the comments on the previous video of mine, and they were saying that they don't know what to do, or they've had enough or something like that. And I said, great, like you feel that way, you're absolutely entitled to feel that way, but it's not going to help for you to give up. You just got to carry on. You just got to carry on, you got to endure. I'm sorry, I know this sounds, it sounds so awful, but what is your choice? What is your option here? Do we even have the choice to give up? And I'm wary of my own strength, and because I know that life can throw you such a curveball and such challenges as it is now, that eventually you feel like I just can't handle it. I don't know. I think a lot of people turn to sort of mental disorders, sort of escape into mental disorders of certain kinds. That gets far out, but I've seen it for my own eyes, and people that feel comfortable in their diagnosis of being unstable. And I lived with a guy on a farm, in a sustainable farm. He was certified, I can't remember what he had the certificate for it, and he was proud of it. I think he was schizophrenic or severely bipolar. No, it was something or other. I can't remember what it was. And he used to brag about it. It would be like, yeah, this is, and felt like, his behavior and his thinking and just in general was understandable and allowed because he was diagnosed, and he wasn't a nice person whatsoever. In fact, he was, what was his name? Andre. Can you believe it? Still remember his name. Well, I think it was Andre. But so people, I don't know, what are your options of giving up? checking out. Suicide, it's heavy, folks. Who am I to say yay or nay about it? Who am I to? I don't know what the severity of the other soul, the challenge on the other soul. I mean, I know that we're told that, what doesn't kill us makes us stronger, and that you get what you can handle, right? Which seems completely illogical at times, but it needs to be the case if we are involved in a very loving and unconditional loving, where we come from and where we're going, or we are part of a very loving, unconditional and supportive source that only wishes for us to grow through our own ambitions and choices and motivations and confidence in ourselves, and that's what it wants from us. And so, but I don't know what the other soul has been going through, and maybe they're tired for this incarnation. They've had enough, and they need rest. It's hard, this, folks, but they need some rest, and rest you shall have. Okay, so again, it's a very, very tough call to make on people that wish to end it in that way. I mean, it's heavy. I felt before my awakening, in inverted commas, my awakening, it was in 2008 or 2007, I can't exactly remember the year, I think it was 2008, and I said that this will be my last New Year's Eve on planet Earth. I won't be alive next New Year's Eve. I will not be. I do not want to be. I was heavily medicated, voluntarily. Well, I wasn't forced, but I was an alcoholic. I was overweight. I was just in a bad state, and there was no reason or rhyme or meaning for me to live whatsoever. And for myself, the way that I wanted to end my life was to overindulge. I took the words from Eleanor Watts saying, rather go out with a bang and then a whimper. That's how I understood it. I mean, that's what I meant. It's like, rather go out, guns blazing, man, like enjoy yourself. And my idea was that, well, I'll drink myself to death. I'll overeat and give myself a heart attack. Like, I mean, I wasn't that fat or overweight, but I mean, it was quite severe. Or like, I was drinking and driving, and if I smashed into the wall or wrote myself off in the car, I mean, I know this is horrible. Well, you went out with a bang, man. You didn't go out with a whimper. Like, time sort of maybe, I don't know, taking some sleeping tablets and going to sleep, and never waking up. I know this is heavy, sorry folks, but it's good, it's cathartic, it's good, it's healing, you can feel it. And so who's to say that each person gives up? I mean, I don't know, for me, you just keep pushing through, and that that you'll feel different. Maybe not tomorrow, maybe not in a few days' time, maybe not in a few weeks' time, but maybe in a few months' time you'll feel different. And the situation might still be the same, but something, a part of you has grown, has developed, has matured. Not even just matured, it's grown, it's understood, has built something, I don't know, an understanding, a maturity sometimes, whatever, an insight, a hope, a strength. Let's rather just say a strength. And you feel that, you feel encouraged, you feel inspired, and to a certain degree you feel stronger. Okay, but then again, the world just takes a turn for the ugly, which it's doing now, which apparently is necessary, and to some degree it is. Or we just find ourselves, again, that the matrix, the bullying of the matrix, which is just picking up right now, right? The level of narcissism is picking up right now. And again, it just really jars us and upsets us. And we can't believe that such evils in this world can exist. This is a big, big problem. You know, when I'm speaking to, let's say, my aunt, you know, I'm just giving my aunt as an example, it's not really my aunt, but, you know, and she's asking me, well, why would they do this in regards to the CV story? Why? And who are they? And I'm like, man, I can't explain it to you because you live in a world where you don't necessarily want to consider the idea that there is evil, that there is darkness, right? You're not comfortable with it. And as soon as I start explaining it, it's going to get dark. It's going to get dark very quickly. And you're not going to appreciate what I'm saying. You're going to have an emotional reaction to that darkness, right? A fight or flight response to it. You won't be able to sit with it. It's not going to make sense to you rationally what I'm saying because you're emotionally charged and in such fear. And you're just not mature enough to appreciate the element and the metaphysics of existence, right? You haven't thought about it. You haven't questioned it. You haven't brought it into your life. You haven't lived with it. Okay, you've been very willy-nilly. You've been very haphazard. You've been very irresponsible. Okay, like you don't want to believe that people put bad things in the water that you drink. You don't want to believe that the television is there for entrainment and not entertainment. You want to believe that the government has your best interest in mind. You want to believe that the educational and schooling that you went through as a child in university was all for your best interest. And it wasn't just further conditioning and mind control. You believe that the religion that you were a part of was really supportive and uplifting of your soul, right? More so than it, you know, although you were told that you were born into sin, which is an unbelievable concept, right? So you don't want to believe that even your religion itself, whatever that may be, might be dark, might be evil. Like, you see, because the world has been inverted and it's upside down, it's inside out. And so if I start explaining who are they, well, not that I know who they are, who are they, but the energy of the darkness of that they perpetuate, that they are a part of, right? Then your world is going to start unraveling, right? And you're going to see that what you thought was healthy was unhealthy. Your trust in the law, your trust in the medical profession, your trust in the, you just about name it, educational, economical, pharmaceutical, agricultural, everything. You're going to find out, right? Politics, media, for heaven's sake, consumerism, capitalism, socialism, you know, and just all the isms. You know, and so there's an element inside the human being that I feel that this is what it's running away from, and is in denial of it, right? And doesn't want to appreciate it, and says, well, that's negative, or that's dark, or that's conspiracy, or something or other. And I'm just going to be a good Karen. I like that word, Karen, and I'm sure the establishment also developed that one as well for us. For those who know, Karen, I believe, is like sort of the perfect sort of soccer mom, or just like, you know, I'm going to wear 2 gloves over my hands during CV just for extra protection, and 3 masks as well. And I'm just going to show everybody, you know, how good I play my part type of thing. Anyway, so they just want, that's what they want. They just want to, want to run the script. They want to be good actors in the game, or whatever it is. And so, and they don't want to look. They don't want to look at the dark side. And again, because there's the dark side in the world, there's the dark side inwardly, and that's the major part. That's what the ego is really saying. Don't start unraveling the darkness in the world, because then you're going to notice that there is darkness, and then you might also link it back to you, which is me, the ego, which is in full darkness, your shadow, which is in complete darkness. Well, what's in the shadow? Well, all the things that you don't like about yourself, that you've suppressed about yourself, you know, and that have removed you from your soul. So what? Like, what are you saying? What are you talking about here? That have removed me from my soul. I go to church every Sunday. You know, I mean, can't believe it. It's like too far out. It's funny how this talk is just going in this direction. I'm just rambling. going of its own volition, I suppose. That's the word. So, where to take it? So again, we pay the price of not wanting to see that there is light and dark, and there's a hard duality in the world. We don't want to see that there's an inner, and we don't want to see that there's an outer. Okay, for all different reasons. Anyway, so the thing is that, again, I don't know what to say from here, from my side. This journey is tough. Okay, and the thing is that I don't know if this is true, but if it wasn't tough, if it wasn't a struggle, if it wasn't painful, would we just fall into such comfort that we wouldn't be challenged? Now, I don't know if that is true, because I feel that do we need such a hard duality if we had the medicine plants, if we had the psychedelics, right, ceremoniously, that we took once a month in ceremony, because the psychedelic is brutal. Okay, it will challenge you. It will chew you up and spit you out, like I've said before. And a really life. You see, what I'm saying is that is the matrix necessary? Is the architect of the matrix necessary? Is Christoph in the Truman Show? Is it necessary in the nature of this existence? Okay, now I'm getting a bit metaphysical in the sense, but is it necessary? My hand's getting tired. My selfie stick broke. Made in China, I suppose. So what I'm saying is that, like, by living, even in the jungle, living in nature, living wherever it is, we're already dealing with nature. Life is already challenging. We have people in our community that are getting sick, right? We have animals that are devouring us at certain times, or snake bites, or spider bites. You know, it's hectic, it's intense. Life is tough. It's a hard duality, right? But on top of it now, what we have more so is this creature of the matrix. We have this type of evil in the world, okay? And, well, that's maybe because we don't have the harshness of nature for most of us. We don't have roaming lions. We don't have, famines, which we do have to a certain degree. But we've maybe, I don't know, I just haven't thought about this enough. But what it is what it is. You know, and my point is that the Matrix is alive and well. And Christoph, you know, from the Truman Show, the creator of the Matrix, is alive and well. And it seems to be that case. And it seems to be, because on the one hand, what I'm saying is that living in nature and being challenged, yes, of course, wasn't so much let's say, a warfare against your soul. See what I'm saying? Like, yes, people died, and, you know, you needed to have faith, and horrible things did happen, but it wasn't, I wouldn't imagine, to a certain degree, let's just say that it wasn't so much about your individuality, it wasn't so much about your spirit. In fact, in nature, your spirit was enhanced, but now your spirit is crushed, right? Your spirit is obliterated. That's what the system tries to do. That's what it's about, okay? So that's what's going on. And so, of course, it's going to be a challenge, folks. Of course, it's going to be tough and beautiful at the same time. But don't underestimate how tough and brutal it's going to be, especially if you're somebody with soul intact, right? And understand what the fight it is. Because without soul intact, there is suffering and there is pain, but it's marginal. It's minuscule in comparison, I feel, to somebody who feels that their soul is at stake. Of course, right? Of course, that their soul is at stake. Oh, I notice now, if I look at my own eyes, I can see directly into the camera. Sorry, I know that's weird, but of course it's going to be, and that's what's happening, and that's what we're feeling, you know. And so for myself, when I look back from the mindset of now, the density of the day, the energy of having to go to the supermarket and everybody's wearing their freaking masks, and, you know, on the loudspeaker in the shopping mall, it's like, Staff, please sanitize your hands now. It's been 2 minutes. And then, dear customers, welcome to whatever. We urge you to please follow the blah 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 protocols and blah 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 whatever, and enjoy your shopping. Bye bye. So I mean, enduring all of that, like the despair that's going on in the world, oh my word, and the fear of the future, what's going to happen exactly, what the hell's going to happen, and then you feel your part in it, you feel the flesh, you feel your flesh in it, you feel your existence in it, you feel the weight of it, right? You feel the energy of it, and you look back at the narrative of your life, not from just a spiritual person, having a spiritual experience, but sometimes just as a human having a human experience. That's the point. Like even now, I'm sitting back and I'm thinking about my loneliness. Wow. When I had to move back from the farm to the city and I just knew nobody, and then I met a girl who I was not really interested in, but I just was so lonely and I just wanted some company, but she was just so unhealthy and so destructive and so manipulative, and eventually, and then I was just it was so lonely. I'd walk the streets sometimes just for a little bit of exercise of fresh air here in South Africa, feeling surrounded by these high-rise walls, 6 foot high, barbed wire fencing on the top with electric wired fencing, with angry dogs sitting in the parking lot, whatever it is, while I walked, and no one really on the street because it's not so safe to be, having not just being able to walk as you wish, and feeling the tensity of one of the, living in this crime-ridden, infested, and just for myself, city, and cut off from nature, being in the city, and having to have come back from the farm because it all failed, and then not really having everybody that I know is working and paying the bills and dropping the kids off at school, and in very much in the matrix, very much, heads in the sand, very much just conform, very much in machine-like automative mode, all the time, removed from their spirit, removed from the soul, removed from divinity, imagination, what do you call it, spontaneity, whatever it is, just like hive mind mentality, dry, raw, and just feel absolutely isolated and alone. Right, that I'd walk the streets and I'd meet like some security guards that I would talk to even late in night because I just had nobody to talk to. What was the other alternative? Was me sitting in my little cottage, 1-bedroom cottage that was freezing cold with the trees. It was sort of dingy, sitting there on my computer. I didn't even have internet. I was just on my own, and that was it. For a long time. That's just one episode. I can tell you of so many. It's just one example that I'm trying to point out. But when I feel that from the human experience, and I'm reminded of that, it's severe. It is from the human suffering and despair. We are not beyond the humanness in this situation. From the spiritual standpoint, we are not beyond it. For heaven's sake, I mean, the whole, damn it, it's like, so much of the New Age is just about, well, it's just your thoughts. It's like, it's just if you can change your thoughts around, it will seem a whole lot more pleasant, right? It's just an issue of negative thinking. I say, no, it's the human that has the boot on its neck, the cultural boot on its neck, okay? All right, it's a war on the frickin' soul, man. Don't come and tell me that because I'm feeling despair and I'm feeling angst, that I'm feeling depressed, that it's just my thoughts. Okay, it's related to my soul, my actual being. But of course, the New Age is not going to be pointing out Mr. Tolle, which I'm going to do a video on. He's not talking about the control system at hand. He's not talking about the manipulation or the spiritual warfare that's going on. No, he's not. He's only talking about it within the mind from a knock-on effect of everything else. But he's not talking about it from the human experience, the human flesh, bone, and blood experience. Again, it's just so airy-fairy, in the pie in the sky type of woo-woo type of situation that goes on, that a lot of people have taken a following to. Anyway, I must do the other talk on that as well. Basically, somebody asks in the audience to Tolle, they say to Eckhart Tolle, if you know what I'm talking about, and then they say to him like, I'm in fear because I fear about, because of the CV story. I fear that my family's going to get sick. I fear that I'm going to lose my job. I fear that I'm going to get sick. I fear, what else was how am I going to pay my rent? And Tolle, all he says to him, he says, well, it's all an illusion because it hasn't happened yet, right? And the fear is not the healthy response to the situation. It's imaginative. I'll find the clip for you, folks, because I'm not exaggerating, and I want to break it down, right? And this is what he says. He says if you can just watch the negative thoughts of the fear, you won't have any more fear. You can stop the fear in its tracks. And I'm like, you idiot. He's not saying. He's saying it's concern as well as fear. It's concern. It's concern. What happens if I lose my job? You have to think about it. You have to be proactive in that. I'm fear if my family gets sick, if I get sick. Exactly. Be concerned about that. What precautions can you take? What actions can you take? Or whatever it is, You fear about not being able to pay your rent, landing up on the street. You tell me because it hasn't happened yet, I mustn't think about it. Anyways, I'll get into that. But I get passionate about it because it's so dehumanizing, the New Age movement. It's so much of it. It's so dehumanizing. And we'll get into that as well. I don't know, eventually. Sometimes I don't take myself seriously enough to do these talks and whatever it is. What can you do? My own battle. That's it. It's the battle against the flesh. It's a battle against the inner critic. It's a battle against the trauma. It's a battle against the mind. It's a battle against the addictions and the desires and whatever it is. That's it. It's a constant war that's going on. And not just internally, from the external as well. So it's understandable that we feel exhausted at times, that we feel overwhelmed at times, and we feel confused at times. Because again, well, if I'm a spiritual being, why am I having such conflict? Why am I in such turmoil? Don't I understand that this is just a bloody game? That this is just a part of my experience for a soul to evolve and develop itself and to grow and ascend and transcend and transmutate or whatever it is? Or don't I understand it? It's an incarnation type of thing. Like, why can't I just live with that, accept that, and that's the be all and end all? Why? Why am I so bloody troubled by it? Why am I in such angst? Why am I in such hopelessness? Right? Like, why? And I mean, it's pretty obvious, because it's not as simple as just thinking that from that perspective. It's not what's going on here. What you're having to maintain yourself by, how to be holistic, right? How to be wholesome, how to be in peace, in resonance, in self-control, willpower, discipline, ability to think for yourself. Confidence, strengths, just whatever it is, just so, self-love against it all, right? I'm saying from a human point of view, what you engage with on your personality, on your characteristics, on your shadow, on your ego, okay? In the flesh is what I'm saying. Now I'm kind of losing myself here. Getting ahead of myself. In the flesh is what I'm talking about here. And so, of course, it's not going to be that, you're just going to think positive thinking and flippin' hell, everything's going to just be irie, baby. Don't worry, be happy. That's it. Do me a favor, how long is that going to last? Or keep telling yourself, okay, now mantras are good, but keep telling yourself, I'm divine, I'm divine, I'm divine, I'm divine, I'm a divine being of light, I'm divine being of light, and everything is for my own better. Like, fine, if that helps, and it's okay, but it's child's play. This is a real war that's going on, right? It is absolutely. And so I think the point I'm going to end off on here, because there's so much more could be said, is that one has to come from a loving approach, a self-loving approach, and saying, damn it, I'm going through a hard time. Damn it, it's tough as hell. And damn it, I'm not going to say, well, at least you got your health. Well, at least you got a roof over your head. Well, at least you got food in your fridge, because you know how many people don't have any food in their fridge. At least you got running water, At least you got Netflix to watch. Like that kind of bullshit, whatever it is. And that you feel guilty for having, for feeling the way that you feel because you're just so privileged and so blessed. And who's privileged, who's blessed? When you come down into this level, into this 3D reality, into this flesh and bone, baby, let me tell you, privileged. So that's what it's about. And so it's a self-love. It's an absolute self-love. And there's much more than this, but it's a self-love saying you're having a hard time. It's been difficult. It's a spiritual war that's going on. You know, there's a fight out for your soul, for your independence, for your sovereignty, for your mind, for your being. Okay? For your connection. And once something wants to disconnect you, can be even your parents, can be your loved ones, can be something or other. You know, it's tough. You got to sweat from the brow to just pay the rent. Do a job that you don't like to do a lot of the time. People say, "Oh, well, quit your job and find a job that you." Sometimes, folks, it's not so easy. No, it's not one solution for all. You know, that's the thing. It's like, well, you can design your life how you wish to. I think to some degree you can, but to some degree you just you dealt certain chips that you know, in certain hands that you dealt with, right? It's not just be all and end all. So, well, let's just move to the country. I mean, and let's just set up shop. You know, let's be self. It's not like that. It's not so simple. It's not so kumbaya, folks. It's easier said than done. Let's be realistic here. I mean, I wanted to talk about being vegan. I'm running out of time here, but being vegan, people will be like, well, you got to understand. Do you know how to cook for yourself? Because if you don't know how to cook for yourself, this is another whole topic, but being realistic about diet. People say, you got to be vegan. So you know how hard it is to be vegan? What happens if you live by yourself? What happens if you have a job where you just don't even have time to make food for yourself? And, you know, and what I'm saying is that you can always get a salad. It's not so simple. Anyway, it's a whole nother talk, but we have to be realistic. So let's be realistic about what's going on in our lives. Let's be realistic and sit with ourselves in that agony, in that pain, and what we've had to endure, in the anxiety, in the despair, in the depression. Let's just make absolute best of friends with ourselves, you know, and just appreciate how tough it is, you know. Just appreciate it. So, well, then you're not being, you know, appreciative of how good it is at the same. Forget about that right now. The most important is the healing. The most important is the healing. Well, isn't it a great opportunity to be able to heal then? Can't you see it as a positive? Just shut up for a moment, and just sit with the discomfort. Just sit with the agony. Just sit with the tiredness. Just sit with the exhaustion. Just sit with it. You know, simple. Breathe into it. Just be there. You know, make friends with it. You know, and support, self-support, folks. And there's more to be said on that, but I think I'm going to leave it at that because it's a pivotal, important point, significant point. Is that you sit with it, right? That you love yourself, that you support yourself, okay? That you give yourself space. You explain to yourself, you understand it for yourself, right? So important. All right, folks, running out of time, and we'll end off on that point. Take care.